I hope all of you are doing well. In today's video, we are going to cover topics like argument and premise. If you want to understand what are different kind of premises and how to apply that reasoning when it comes to argument, premise and conclusion, you have to check out the previous video where we have discussed it in detail. We have discussed about deductive reasoning in that. So if you want to check that, make sure you click on the link that is given below. Now let us start with the concept of argument. What is an argument? Argument basically is a set of premises, a set of statements that lead to a particular conclusion. But that is not the exact definition of argument. Argument is when we have these set of premises or we have a set of statements, you can say, that either contradict or strengthen a concept or an issue. That is what we call as an argument. Now, what is the typical structure that is followed for argument and premise? It typically consists of one or more premises. Now, these statements that are given to you as a premise, these statements are considered as true. All right, they are assumed to be true. And these statements lead to a particular conclusion. Now, we have to understand based on the statements and its conclusion and the relation between it. Based on that, we have to understand whether the argument is weak or the argument is strong. Let us understand what is the purpose of all this. The purpose is to be able to persuade or convince the reader of the validity of a particular viewpoint or a position on a given topic. So let's say you have a certain understanding about a certain topic inside your mind, but you want to prove it to someone. What will you do? You will actually try to give reasons, you will try to give data, right, to strengthen your argument. That is what is given in the form of a question here. But you have to identify whether the argument is strong or weak based on your own logical reasoning. Right? Now let us see an example for this. Premise 1 is companies that prioritize innovation are more likely to maintain a competitive edge in the market. Second, startup companies often focus more on innovation than established companies. Therefore, startup companies are more likely to maintain a competitive edge in the market compared to established companies. So this premise is there, this premise is there, and according to these two premises, conclusion is this. Now, this is a different story whether the conclusion is right or wrong, whether the premises are strong enough, whether the relation between the premise and conclusion is correct and strong or not. So these things we'll discuss later, but this is the basic structure that you need to understand. Also, let us understand what is actually meant by strong and weak arguments. Now, if you really want to strengthen or weaken an argument, what are the things that you can do? Okay, it is crucial to fully grasp the argument and its reasoning. It is important. Critical reasoning questions are in three main parts. First is premise, which is basically the statements that are given, conclusion, which is the main point, and connection between them. As I told you, what is the connection between those statements and the conclusion will define whether the argument is either weak or strong. Right? Premise is fixed, serves as a foundation of the argument, but there are instances where challenging the premise can impact the argument's strength. Right? So whatever the premise is, if you are challenging that, automatically the conclusion will weaken because premise in itself is not strong enough. So this is the way in which you can either strengthen or weaken your arguments. Okay. The main task is strengthening or weakening an argument lies in second part and establishing, undermining the link between premise and the conclusion. Either you have to establish the link between these two or you have to totally negate that. All right. This is achieved by reliable data or logical reasoning. Very important. Providing strong evidence or logical reasoning that contradicts the argument can weaken it. Conversely, presenting supporting evidence or logic strengthens the argument. So if you have reasons potent enough, then your argument will become stronger. If you have data that is supporting it, then also your argument becomes strong. But if you don't have both these points, your argument will be considered as weak. So this is how we uh, either present an argument as a strong argument or it becomes a weak argument. Now let us also understand about premises in detail. What is a premise? Premise is nothing but basis of argument. What is the basis of this argument? If you don't have statements, premises, on what basis you will come to a conclusion, right? So these premises are considered as assumed truth. They are typically accepted as true within the framework of the argument, even if they may not be universally true. Now, if in some argument one premise is the sun rises in the west, okay, although it does not rise in the west, but in the framework of that argument it does, this should be considered as a true premise. Okay, it has a supportive role. Premises are essential for constructing logical arguments. Sequencing of or you can say the flow of logic is very important, and premises help you do that, right? And demonstrating the validity of a particular viewpoint or a conclusion. So if you really want to prove that point as a valid point, premises should have a proper logical reasoning to them. If it is not there, there are higher chances that you may not be able to prove that particular argument is strong or valid enough. So this was about argument, premises, strong and weak arguments. So if you have understood what is the meaning of argument, premise, and how to strengthen or weaken the argument, please make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. We will come up with more such interesting concepts related to verbal ability and verbal reasoning. So please stay tuned and see you in another video.